We'll see if it works out. I'm curious to see what the response will be. Canyon, very happy to play Greaves pretty much at any time. You know, he's obviously a long-time Graves player. He was actually he was the main reason, actually, I should say, that Graves got a lot of popularity because of just the way that he was playing it, and also he made it look even more broken than it actually was. And kind of suffered some nerfs, but still around, especially for Canyon. And we do have Samira. Samira Rel is going to be essentially offered over to the side of Liiv Sandbox.
Super strong bot lane. As I said already, the Rel think he's great here. She's great into engage support, which Alistar is. And this to me signifies that like Damwon Kia, they're not looking for like laning pressure, like they generally don't, right? Like Ghost and Barrel are just there to sustain and make it through the laning phase. They always do. Some threaded Brian losses notwithstanding. And outside of that, it's more about the top side for them. And this is something that I want to kind of focus on honing in as well, because I've been loving Khan Swap so far. I say this as someone who's been a fan of Nuguri since he, you know, went like Clapto everything in like 2019 Worlds, and it blew up spectacularly. But following up on a team that has just won the World Championship and doing so serviceable, allowing your team to pick Fizz for you, I think that's stellar. That's really good to see.
Yeah, it's certainly cool. I wonder what other picks we might get in here. We might see something different for Showmaker in the mid lane, because you might look at that and see 3 mid bans, but actually it's 4, even with the Seraphine, of course.
Okay.
In here. And now another one, as neither side has picked a mid laner yet. So
it's going to be like Azir and some. What else? What else do we not want to see? Definitely Azir. I mean, Zoe, Syndra, and Orianna have actually been banned out.
Yeah.
Galio?
I mean, there's so much that's been banned out. So
I would actually not mind Galio for Showmaker here. I think it's good into Nidalee. It's okay. Never mind. I don't think it's you're gonna have that much fun. Oh no.
Oh what?
Oh Fade. No, Fade. You have a Nidalee. Oh. No.
Okay. Well.
So we don't like this. We don't like. That's fine, you know. And like you'll be able to generally in lane to get decent prio, especially early on. Victor, of course, once he gets the they still make it boring. They find a way. It's not a mid lane meta.
Yeah.
Valdez. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
thank
okay.
you, thank you,
Right.
Showmaker. Or is it top rise? If they actually, I would love if they pick like 2 flexible picks. Go for like rise. I was gonna say Aurelia, but yeah, that's also fine.
Yeah.
I don't think Aurelia's great into like Samira, and this is fine. I don't mind this. I actually like. I think. I'm taking the rise, okay? I'm not getting greedy.
You're still in like the honeymoon phase of Scion. It's like, oh yeah, we haven't seen it in a while. So like, oh yeah, it's fun. No, Scion is not. I mean, yeah, he gets to go choo-choo from time to time. That's fun for our observers, I guess.
Listen, fellas, as a European caster, I have a deep appreciation for Scion, okay? Both in our solo queue and in our... No, don't pick for next to Scion. Don't do it, yes. Summit. Okay, so...
Yeah.
Yes, it's R5 Renekton, right? The only reason that you forgive this is because there's a Nidalee there, right? Renekton Nidalee, it's really strong. Liiv Sandbox, they don't draft for a strong mid-jungle duo because Azir Nidalee is not really there in terms of synergy. But I don't like the Renekton into Sion. I think that matchup after like the first or second back becomes extremely boring, which is not what you want as Renekton. Liiv Sandbox, it's dive or die, and I don't think that is good into a composition with Alistar, Ryze, and Sion.
I don't agree. Yeah,
I'm not loving it, Valdez.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. It's insane the amount of tools that Damwon Kia have in their kit. I mean, we don't see
so
Ryze
much.
very often, but if you guys remember, if you know, rummage through your brains what you have left from the Ryze games, as the game comes along, he just becomes kind of like a machine gun, and he can blow people up. I mean, he has insane burst if he gets his combo off, so there's a lot of these picks on the side of Liiv Sandbox that can like run into you and Look to dive, as you're mentioning, is pretty much a full dive comp. And he can basically just like one-tap you if he gets you in the right spot, you know? So I really like this pick, actually, looking at the side of Liiv Sandbox, and I feel like they've prepared pretty well in this draft this time around.
It's either as, you know, as Liiv Sandbox, you 100 to 0 the Ryze, or like he kites you out and you have a really big problem because you're engaging onto him, right? Like one of Ryze's biggest weaknesses, and this might be, especially in the early game, might be a problem in the lane, is his lack of range. But then if you have Samira and Renekton, then Ryze says like, okay, that is sure. I'm completely okay with that.
Yeah. It's almost like they knew that Summit also was going to pick like R5 Renekton, R5 Aatrox, right? We all know what Summit picks in R5, right? There's not many choices for him. It's one of those two, like 95% of the time. So it's almost like they knew they were going to get some kind of melee bruiser
listen,
and be able to fight it with the Ryze.
Feldas, I'm okay with that. I can respect that, but then just blind it, right? Like blind Renekton, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with blind Aatrox, right? Like the point of these picks is that they're fairly, in case of Renekton, they're fairly oppressive. In case of Aatrox, they don't really lose any matchups super hard, or the more common ones at least. But don't save your counter pick on red side for a Renekton that you could have just locked in like 3 rotations earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Like Renekton work well as like a blind pick, or you know, something that does well in lane and usually doesn't lose, right? But
it's not a bad pick. That's not the problem. But yeah, we're both not a fan of it in this situation, and I think we should leave it at that because otherwise, I think
we can talk about this all night.
I think Summit's game is going to be hard enough without us also giving him a hard time as engaged in the bot lane. And level 1 of Alistair is not great, although hitting a double knockup does help a little bit. It's actually been this long since a Ryze. That's almost a year.
Yeah. You see February 26th of 2020. So that, I don't know if you guys remember, but especially because of COVID, it was originally pretty bad here in Korea, and so we had to delay the 2020 season by about a month. So we started in like mid-February. So that was picked like right near the beginning of the 2020 split, spring split, and then it was not picked again. So that's kind of where we last stand, at least on top Ryze. We have had, or not top Ryze, mid Ryze. We have had some top Ryze players, obviously Keen being one of them. Here's a very early gank. The flash, very respectful from Fate. I love that, knowing that he could potentially be burst down and rooted down for quite a long time if he did get caught in that CC chain.
100%. Love the flash from Fade there, but I want to see what led to this situation, because this is such a good run from Barrel, and I love that like effort is like, well, if you're going to gank my mid lane, I'm going to gank your mid lane, but there is a ward in the river, so it's not actually spotted. Because I want to see how Barrel was able, like, how did he find the Fog of War, and how did Fate not kind of just back off and stay safe, or at least hover his top side where Croco was, so he's a little bit safer, but he was standing fairly in the middle of the lane, and you're right, if you don't flash there and you get caught in Ryze's snare, you are a dead bird.
Yeah, because he didn't go cleanse, right? He went teleport. He's up against Graves jungle, so it's not like something that can CC chain straight from the jungle. Like, it's not like an Elise or something like that.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily need the cleanse, and obviously you're going to lose a lot of lane pressure and priority if you do take the cleanse. So I like that Damwon kind of identify that, and they go for that very early gank.
Okay,
all
so
up barrel. This
is where I would have loved to see the dive from Summit and Croco, because this is the point in the game, I think, where like you can still get away with that. I think that window rapidly closes. Croco was on top side. I'm not sure if Canyon was spotted or if they had any idea, because he did start on his topside jungle and then path down. And if Liiv Sandbox weren't aware of that, they might not have wanted to go for that. But that's the kind of play, that's what I want to see with a Renekton Nidalee, right? Like, Summit's been playing this early game super well, but the early game is not the problem. The problem is this, once Khan has had his first 2 backs, and he's been stacking armor, he finishes his Bramble and perhaps some plated steel caps, then the value of that Renekton pick is just gonna drop down rapidly.
Absolutely.
Oh,
can
Charlie.
Can you still hear my
most
cat
definitely.
in the background? Yeah, she's very talkative today. Sorry about that, guys. You guys are going to get a lot of cat sounds here today. It's a very fun and wacky Friday, I suppose.
I mean, it would have made...
We got this new toy, and she really wants to play with it, but it's, like, outside of the door, so she's just meowing at the door. Like, please open the door, I want to play with the toy, but, you know, there's a cast going on as well, so...
she's not agreeing with you. Like, I'd be inclined to say, yeah, I get that. But,
yeah, she definitely doesn't agree. She wants as much playing time as possible every single day. Definitely, we have spoiled her with lots of playtime and love. I suppose that's generally a good thing.
I'd say so, yeah.
It means that we get a talkative cat during the casts, so
it's okay.
I'm sure Twitch chat is enjoying it at least. But.
If I know anything about the internet and our lovely viewers, I'm fairly certain they love cats and dogs and various other cute little animals. As we see the Drake being started up here, and interesting that they do get priority on the mid wave, but then they're not really synced up to actually contest this. And an early Cloud Drake for DK doesn't necessarily mean that much in the grand scheme of things, but it's more about what it signifies, right? Because falling behind with this composition of Liiv Sandbox is bad. That's not what you want at all. Because your insurance is just an Azir. And that's basically it.
Like, where is the proactivity in this game, you know? Is it going to come at the first Rift Heralds? We didn't go for any dives, as you mentioned. The proactivity came out first from Damwon on the support roam at level 2 in the mid lane. And so far, other than that, it's just been Damwon kind of having their way. Of course, the lanes, at least the top lane, is going to be pretty nice for the side of Liiv Sandbox. Just a little lead there. But as you mentioned, you know, eventually they're not going to be having too much fun there. Sion will just be able to step up to that wave, and there's not much you can do. Showmaker just able to stroll through the enemy jungle and get a very nice ward onto the Krugs. So they're going to be able to lock down this Nidalee for the early game as well. And if we just farm it out, as you mentioned, Damwon are just going to sit here and be very happy. They don't need to force anything from this point on.
They really don't. Like, their composition scales very comfortably, and like they still have a lot of skirmishing power and tools, right? It's not like one of those teamfight compositions where every lane is super slow. You can actually set up great Drake fights with this. You can actually 2v2 fight, right? The burst from a Rise, combined with specifically Canyon's Grave, a Killer Instinct or a Realm Warp coming through. Like, those are all still completely valid tools. So it's really up to Liiv Sandbox, and just a 10 CS lead for Croco in the jungle is just not going to cut it. And the same in top lane. Like, yes, Summit, it's nice that you're ahead, but I want to see more. They do look like they're going to have a completely free Rift Tower there if they do pick it up on spawn, and I'd be very happy to see them actually take that, and the pings are going down. So that's really good.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, that's a good way to get a nice little lead and try to roll the tempo into the mid-game and potentially get some good fights going before the Rise Kaisa Graves really gets out of hand, before the Sion becomes unkillable and stuff like that. So we'll see if Damwon just entirely ignore this. We saw, you know, the Sion moves over, puts down a ward, but as you mentioned, you know, they don't really have the tools to really challenge this Rift Herald take. So they're just gonna let it go.
I actually thought they might have wanted to go for a play there, but they don't have bot side vision, so they're not really aware as to what Damwon could have had set up for them, and Showmaker does still have the flash, so they're not risking it, which I think is fine. But all in all, yeah, as you know, Damwon, you don't really need to get this Rift Herald. It's nice if you get it. Liiv Sandbox as we see the train depart, goes towards the top lane. The Sandbox, yet again, padding that first Herald stats. And I'd really like to see them actually use it well, get a first turret bot somewhere after a nice gank or a dive, and then go from there. And then see how you play out. Because Summit and Croco are ahead, right? It's not that much, but it's the main reason why there is still a very slight gold lead here for Sandbox.
Absolutely. Just a small one. Of course, it is being caught up in the mid lane here, as Showmaker, with that early gank, he's been able to have, it seems like, some better lane presence, and he hasn't really been missing any CS here. He's got 97 at 9 minutes 30, so of course the Rise, once you build up some levels, your abilities can kind of just have fun. So that's a really nice counter engage. Beryl will have to flash though, as the spear not going to be able to land even with the exhaust going there. Beryl responding very well to the pop forward from the Rel.
And that's a flash that you're happy with. You know, it does reduce barrels engaged or a possibility to engage in your vision, as it's not going to be they're not going to get greedy. They're not going to try and go for a topside play, which I actually would have preferred. I think that pumping gold into Fate here doesn't do as much as getting Summit ahead, because Summit has been doing well in that matchup. And I think Fate, like, he's going to hit his first spike earlier, but that's still not really the power point that you're looking for. And yeah, I keep saying it. I would have just loved to see Liiv Sandbox really push the envelope, and then if it fails, that's fine, right? But I think that right now you're not playing with enough tempo to actually get that much done as something goes in.
Yeah, I think this is just trying to get a really nice trade. At the end of the day, he's not going to kill Khan, of course.
Yeah.
He just wants to put on as much pressure as possible. But at the end of the day, you know, it feels like a little bit too little too late, right? Like, it's level 9 Scion. He already has the Balmy Cinder, Primal Vest. You know, lots of sustain. He's even got Biscuits up there. He's totally fine. Like, you can blow your entire combo onto him. He's just going to be totally happy. He's used to it.
Oh, Showmaker. That's a lot of creepies. That is almost 11 per minute. That's something that, with the Rise, as you already pointed out, you love to see. As a possible collapse might come through here.
Yeah, Infernal Drake going to be very important for both of these teams, as here comes the engage. He's going to catch Canyon, and that will be the smite going the way of Kroko. So Liiv Sandbox able to get something going here. They even get the first blood onto their Azir, as well as the teleport away from Khan. So a lot of nice wins here on the Rift now for Liiv Sandbox.
Really well played there by Liiv Sandbox. They invest a lot, right? It's the teleports, it's the flash from Fate, but they do actually execute the play well. They immediately take Canyon, who had no business being that far forward, as they go in.
Damwon are not messing around. They're going to get immediately onto this bot lane, and Root, he is going to hit that S rank. Ghost doesn't seem to care. He's just slowly chipping away with auto attacks. And yeah, you get the Infernal Drake. You do get a nice little temple lead there, but immediately Damwon strike back.
I want to retract my earlier statement of saying that that investment was worth it. I now no longer believe that, as Ghost and Showmaker have picked up a fair bit of plate gold, and also 2 kills, 1 kill on each. And I don't think someone is going to get through a Bulwark here in time, unfortunately, because that would actually tilt it more in the Liiv Sandbox favor. But Khan's going to be here now. I don't think he's going to be an immovable brick in this wall. Also just picks up the Giant's Belt as well, and, you know, signs wave clear past a certain point. Becomes like this, where you queue the wave and then there is no wave anymore. So, Liiv Sandbox. It was looking so good up until that really nice bot side dive from Damwon.
Yeah, Khan's like, well, I'm here. You want to get something going? And Damwon's like, okay. They just, it's like they just make things work. Sometimes you just wonder how it happens. Summit is not going to get slowed up here. Even is able to slice and dice through the smoke and is able to get out of range. Khan just turns around, clears the wave, and he'll be doing that a lot in this game.
So this is what I love. This is the decisiveness, right? You already know that you want to go for this, and with the flash, normally Canyon can get away there due to the fact that you know, your quick draw allows you to go over the wall. That doesn't happen though, so that was really nice. Then this dive is just beautifully executed here, right? Like, it's just layer upon CC, and Kroko is just standing there and doesn't really have the ability to get anything done in that situation. Fate's already back to mid lane, and it's understandable, but you know that Damwon are still there. They invested a teleport, and they're going to be looking to try and make counterplay. And if you can't do it on the other side of the map, just do it on the enemy bot lane.
Yeah. That's kind of what it felt like, you know? It's like, oh, we're here.
It was personal.
You want to just press our buttons and kill them? Okay, let's do it. And they certainly have a comp that is nice for that. So, effort now, looking for maybe something, but again, it is Alistar. So, we talked about diving onto this comp. This is one of the pieces that really loves when you just dive straight into him. Alistar will have some fantastic peel in this engage.
And now we're reaching that point where Showmaker has hit his first item breakpoint, right? He's finished the Ludens, he's stacking up his tier, and waves are not a thing to him anymore. He's gonna one combo them, even stealing away CS from Canyon, because looks like Showmaker really wants to break some records. Nice spear from Kroko, very cute.
Yeah, I'm glad you put it that way because it does actually feel like he's trying he's trying to get the highest CS per minute of anyone ever at 15 minutes or something like that. He's doing pretty well for himself. He's up at like 160 something. 169, perfect. And he's even gonna get some more here in the mid lane. And you know, it's not even just him. Take a look at Ghost. Also really nice numbers. 163 here at 15 minutes. And that's where you're seeing some of this gold lead come in for the side of Damwon Kia outside of the kills.
And that's a really big problem because Liiv Sandbox is, with this composition, is kind of reliant on, you know, Roots in particular getting the item advantage. Finding an early shield bow and then fighting. That's what you want to do with the Samira, right? Make use of her insane skirmishing and teamfight power. Same can be said for the Renekton. You want to try and find a lead early and then leverage that into bigger and bigger leads. Now, I think they are going to get the first turret bot here as Liiv Sandbox. And Summit in a vacuum is doing super well with this pick, but I don't think it really changes how the game is going to be played out from that point forward, like unless somehow they can find access to the backline. But then the problem is the backline doesn't mind you being close, right? Like as long as Showmaker has his summoners available, he's still going to deal a lot of hurt. Possible collapse here though.
No. Effort just face checks here and he gets caught out. Beryl and Ghost, really nice read. They're like, okay, you don't have any vision, so we can just wait for you and take you out.
But it was like they were setting up for a collapse there, right? I think that they knew they were there, and Effort was like, okay, team is coming. Croco and Fade are on their way towards the bot side, but the beautiful fact of Damwon being this far ahead also means that their item spikes are pretty gruesome if you're a Liiv Sandbox fan, right? Like Ghost already had a Kraken Slayer. That's an isolated rel. That is not a problem at all for you. You go through that very quickly. He's also 4 levels up. And those CS numbers basically mean that for everyone on Damwon Kia's side, it's a low action game, but this is something that I'm really happy to see because this feels like the Damwon Kia that we haven't seen in a while. But they don't need kills to like get ludicrously ahead.
It's pretty ridiculous. He hit 200 CS at before 17 minutes. It was like 16:59 or something. It was right before 17 minutes. So you just imagine those numbers as a mid laner. And see, they just wait for him. It's just like, yeah, we can do this. Nope, you're not tanky.
I'm 100% certain that like Effort thought he could live there. But yeah, Fade and Croco, they're not there yet, right? And if you're in the minion wave, maybe you survive that, maybe you can outplay it. If Root is there to actually tank some for you, maybe heal, you know, use your W, like that's fine, but none of that happens and he just gets blown up. And I feel like these kind of mis-executions from Liiv Sandbox is a problem that until they fix that, they're gonna keep running into these same issues.
Yeah. Little mistakes like that you can't really afford to make against a really good team like Damwon. You know, if this were a middle of the pack kind of matchup, maybe,
yeah.
But
also not with this draft probably. But yeah, I definitely agree with you there.
Yeah, especially with the draft. So you just can't really afford to make those kind of maneuvers. Damwon will take your inch that you give them and they'll make it a mile. It's kind of been their big MO, at least for the end of last year. Take a look at Khan taking 0 damage.
It's actually 0 damage.
Yeah, 0. He didn't take anything that wasn't shields. Look at his health bar.
Oh no.
Just gets a full charge on the stun. So does Shirley. Doing work.
I really like the Frostfire Gauntlet into Nidalee because like just being big is so helpful. Because like it becomes so much harder to actually hit your spears because Khan is just standing there, and as we've already seen, damage does not scare him, and he doesn't even have a MR yet. Like it's gonna get worse. And you know what Croco is building?
What's he building?
He's building a Night Harvester.
Yeah, he is.
He's doing it. Oh,
absolutely.
It's a tragedy.
Yeah, it really is. You've got Nazir on your team, but I don't know. It's almost like that tech kind of. I don't know. Nidalees in the LCK don't think that that they can support or something.
Well,
I don't know. It's weird.
Well, we've seen situations of it, right? Like I was kind of skeptical the last time we saw Peanut play it on Nongshim, and then he actually had a complete bonkers pop-off game. Like it definitely can work.
Yeah.
But you're playing against Damwon Kia, and you're pretty far behind, and I think your only out is going to be like big team fights, like Fate finding another one of those great engages, Summit getting into the back line. It's not going to be you trying to poke them down.
Nope. It's not going to amount to too much. We're going to see the engage here on a barrel. He is going to be forced to use his ultimate early. Take a look at the top side, though. Teleport, not wasted, actually. He does get it off here, trying to engage onto Ghost, and Summit is pretty massive at this point in time. We're going to have this ultimate come out, and barrel...
No.
Oh, man, you left your friend alone. As they'll look for more. Actually trying to come in here, and now Sion coming in from the back. Canyon will go down, and Barrel as well. Maybe they overextended here. At least Khan was able to get the one kill, but now you've got Root popping off here. Can they even kill the Sion? It looks eventually they will, but it did take quite a while, as I'm not sure why Damwon Kia stuck around that long, but I like how Liiv Sandbox were able to pounce on them there.
Go for it. Do it. Just risk it. Come on, flip it. I want to see it, Sandbox. Please.
Yeah. Nice.
They're flipping it. They're flipping it. This can backfire horribly, but this is probably the only window you're gonna get here as Sandbox, Valdez.
Yeah.
Oh, no, don't stand behind Baron. That's not good.
No killer instinct here, but we have Showmaker, and we all know what Rise can do in this kind of situation. Here he comes,
no.
looking to put up some big numbers, trying to nuke people behind the Baron, and there it is! They just grouped up for it like fish in a barrel, and there is nothing they can do to get away. They flash over the wall. Showmaker's like, yeah, good job, guys. Thanks for the big damage numbers. Really appreciate that. You know, I've stacked up my CS for just this moment. And now Damwon Kia say, well, it's our turn to take the Baron.
Oh, Valdez, that is... You know, I wanted to see them flip it, but I think once Showmaker is there, you just need to try and turn. Because standing behind Baron, the damage augmentation as Tokyo Drift comes in, just distracting them. He doesn't actually need to do anything, just making sure that Croco can't get in.
Effort's getting in there. He's doing it. They actually killed the cow.
That's nice. Like once Showmaker is there, you know, it's completely natural. It's 20 minutes, and he has a stacked tier, an Oblivion Orb, and a fully completed Banshees. Yeah, no, you can't stay there. It's just not possible. But it feels, like I said, I think this is the only opening you get as Liiv Sandbox. You got to try and make a desperate play, because Damwon, from this point in the game, you don't need to be the world champion to play it out, I think. And they are, so yeah. It's even worse.
We're just going to make this even more difficult for Liiv Sandbox, because, you know, now they've got two Mountain Drakes. Kind of quietly. There wasn't much that happened for them to get those two. It was just the catch on the effort, and now the win in the team fight. And this started off great for Sandbox, but, you know, they won the team fight. Afterwards was the mistake.
So Summit is such a heavy carrier at the beginning of this fight, because he's basically single-handedly, like, threatening the backline of Damwon. But then the problem is that, like, letting Daryl die there is completely fine. But I think there must been some miscommunication. I'm not going to talk about this. We've already discussed it in depth. This can only end one way. The problem there is that with that drifting, I think that Khan was of the idea of, guys, maybe we can like do a sick turn here, right? I come in, I hit a knock up, and we still have Showmaker and Ghost somewhat healthy, although not really. But it was risky. It was kind of an unnecessary risk to take. That just let Barrel die, and then they can't do a lot. Instead, they still turn it around, and nothing of consequence actually happens, unfortunately, for all you Liiv Sandbox fans out there. The Night Harvester is done, though, so that's nice.
Oh, great. Alright, well, that's, yeah, he's just going to hold the way. Our observers love Sion. It's their favorite champion, I feel like, right now. They get to zoom in on the 2-2 train every time, so... You guys might get sick of it, but we're going to do it every single time. Just don't you worry.
I was never the biggest Transformer fan, but as I said, I've seen many a Sion in my day, and there's nothing I love more than a Sion like really like drifting, almost hitting a team and then failing as a possible team fight here.
Yeah, this time Barrel is going to have some help from Showmaker on the top side. You can see Liiv Sandbox, they're just not comfortable to engage into this. Showmaker just stands the rel up. Not very nice.
No.
Now they're just going to ult mid. They're like, okay, let's end this game. Good fight, guys. I don't know if they can actually end it here, but they're going to at least look to push the inhibitor and look for picks. And Showmaker has already turned into that machine gun. Flashes onto Fate, and Ghost immediately gets in there. Root and his friend Krako is going to have to run away. Summit's like, yeah, I wish I wasn't the only one that had anything going for me in this game. Immediately going to get nuked down. And they still have the Baron, and they're still pushing.
And I don't think there's anything you can do as Liiv Sandbox with how fat Damwon is at this point. Can't. You can just join this fight. Please teleport, right? Like, he's just in the side wave, taking down the turret, and now he's going to back and then teleport. So that's okay. You know, we forgive him for that. Keep the minion alive. But this is a return to form here as Samira goes in.
Yeah, Samira gets in there, and now with both the damage dealers down, Krako looking to take down Canyon. Doesn't have that lead, but will eventually pick it up. Now Khan is going 1v2.
Do it, Khan.
He's going to be able to take out... Oh, no. Effort is going to step away. And Krako a little bit too mobile, even though he does have that super minion on him. Khan will just walk away as Azir does respawn. And Damwon having a bit more fun in the enemy base.
You know, as Damwon got a little bit too excited, so did we. I was pretty sure that was over. But yeah, Showmaker. This man, you know, he was lacking some confidence, I feel like, after that Brian win. I keep coming back to that, but it's very clear that it's back. The confidence is back. And then you can just see this 3-man death squad coming out, and the amount of damage that they're able to put out in such a short time is absolutely insane. His Effort, actually, who's had a really rough game that kind of saves the day there with a really nice crash down into Attract and Repel, providing tons of space for Roots to charge up his S rank and actually go in. And if that play is made by Effort, who, again, thus far, had some rough moments, but he's keeping the dream alive for at least a little bit longer.
Yeah, trying to show that Rel is indeed still strong. Doesn't matter if you've died 5 times or whatnot. Still has that fun engage, pretty reliable. As Beryl walking through the enemy jungle, I feel like he's trying to make Krako feel like he has a purpose in this game, like he actually does damage, eating some spears to make him feel better. But yeah,
I appreciate that.
They're in very much control of this game because we're about to have Mountain Soul. It's not the potential for Mountain Soul that they could have gotten last game, but 3 Drake Mountain Soul when you've got Scion, Ryze, Alistair.
And it's
You're going to have a fun time.
Oh, they're going in.
Yeah, they want to just kill them, actually. They're not even going to waste any time. You see that Summit with those 2 items, he is pretty rough to take down, and Showmaker gets a little bit too confident this time around. Khan, he's a front line, but now he's all alone in the front line. Effort trying to help out here. The Kai'Sa's still alive, and Ghost trying to go 1v5 a little bit, and Damwon kind of dropped the ball there. Liiv Sandbox immediately able to turn onto Showmaker. They know he's the big threat, and they take him down.
Everyone who's ever played the Soda game has seen this one coming. You're doing so well, you're basically ending, and then you go for a big high-fee play in the mid lane, and it backfires basically immediately. Canyon also, you're on a ward, he knows this. I don't actually know if he's gonna be okay here. I'm pretty sure he's not. Okay, never mind. They go for the Nash instead. I thought they might want to collapse on him, but
oh, is this number
still
2
alive.
Electric Boogaloo? Like, is this the Baron play where they get caught again? Or will Liiv Sandbox be able to take it down this time? It looks like the answer will be no! It's gonna be Canyon with the steal! Throws up the thumbs up, and he doesn't even care if his team dies. He got the Baron. He's happy with it. But again, you're feeding these carries on the side of Liiv Sandbox. And yes, the base in a little bit of trouble at this point in time as well.
I mean, you know, you take those. You got the Baron, Canyon getting the big steal there. As a Kroko is actually really carrying his weight in these skirmishes. I don't know, Damwon. I don't like this is overforcing it, right? Like you're going in so deep, and especially look at Showmaker here, because I think he thinks he can get onto Root and Kroko, but Effort yet again with a beautiful exhaust immediately on top of him means that he can't find that backline, and then the rest of DK is just doing their very best to try and follow. This is just Canyon, you know. He's I can't see how many levels he's up. I think it's 1, so he does have an advantage in there, and yeah, it's 1 level, so that is always a little bit tilted towards him. The immediate follow-up, it's not really winnable. If that Kai'Sa was a Ryze, we know what would have happened. We don't have to speculate on that.
That is for sure. But, you know, we talked about the way these two compositions could potentially butt heads in the late game. It could be a lot of diving from the side of Liiv Sandbox. They have a little bit of poke with the Nidalee Azir, right? But a lot of the time it's going to be Renekton leading the charge, maybe some, you know, backline Emperor's Divides from the Azir, the Samira diving in, and Showmaker could just sit back on the rise and be a machine turret, basically.
Yeah.
And do that. But instead he's like diving backlines. You know, he doesn't have to do this. They don't have to give away Mountain Soul, Mountain Drakes away. You don't have to potentially lose Baron and rely on Canyon to do it. So definitely having a little bit too much fun in this series.
I was about to say, but it is really fun doing that, right? Like, you're looking for the Penta here as Showmaker, but I do want to see DK not lose another fight. I think there is a point where it actually becomes really, really dangerous because Fate is now on 3 items, and if you don't get to that Azir early on in a team fight, and you don't chew through the front line fast enough, Liiv Sandbox actually do still have a shot here, right? Like, if you take a really bad fight, it's still a risk that you have as Damwon Kia, so they need to be 100% certain. They still in full control of this game, but they gotta play it out cleanly. I just want to see a front-to-back team fight, kite it back, use your front line, use the waves that you have pushing in, and, you know, don't make that they don't have to dive you, Showmaker. Like, if you're already in their backline, then there's not even dive necessary because you basically dove yourself. So let's not do that, as he's level 18, and it's a lot of creepies.
Yeah, it does feel like they've calmed down a little bit. You mentioned solo queue before. If this were solo queue, right, they wouldn't have stolen the Baron. They would have just gone in there, failed, and died. They would have forced another weird team fight 2v4 and then gotten caught. And the other 3 players get caught later. And then all of a sudden, Liiv Sandbox are just chopping you down with their carries. And it's like, oh, I guess we lose now, and it's a terrible feeling. Thankfully, our pro teams don't do that most of the time.
No, you know, it's a fun comparison to make, but it also should hold basically no ground in reality. Pro players are human, but especially the world champions are not going to be that fallible. As the teleport comes in, this is a do-or-die team fight for Liiv Sandbox. If Damwon Kia don't find a good position here, if they're not able to actually take control of the river and they need to funnel into a choke against Fate, they can still give this up. But Liiv Sandbox doesn't have the same luxury. The backs coming through here mean that Damwon Kia want to try and go for the retake, and I think that might actually be kind of hard. Yeah,
you know, if they try to force fights, and let's say, like, Khan doesn't get a good engage, you might not be in a great spot. You kind of just have to run at an Azir, which is not always fun, but Liiv Sandbox sustaining a bit of damage here in the mid lane, and Damwon Kia have really set up their lanes in a fantastic spot. I mean, we saw the top lane, the bottom wave is also pushing, and they set it up right before this fight, so... You mentioned it's do or die. Liiv Sandbox, they have to get this going right here, right now. But the position advantage right now in favor of Damwon Kia. We do have a bit of a wraparound coming out now from Effort, but they just want to burst down the Baron, take the Mountain Soul, and then go into it. The engage comes out from Beryl. Immediately, Summit will go down, and Fate is just running away from the Kaisa. We also got Showmaker in a much better position this time around. Krako and Fate not able to do their damage at all. And that is going to do it. Looks like Damwon Kia pick up the Mountain Soul, and they will pick up the 2-0 tonight.
Showmaker did more damage in that fight than we've seen Udis do over the course of 2 games, Valdez. That was how the fight is supposed to look, right? Like, Damwon, they know how to play the game. They know what to do. They're literally the best team in the world at the moment. I mean, maybe Fred Breen is, as I say that, Canyon is like, Croco, we're gonna tussle, baby, but
just trading thumbs up.
I'm pretty sure Canyon dies.
Croco?
He does not win this.
About that. The spear lands. Oh, and he gets shot mid-jump. Meanwhile, train the Busan coming in. There you go, GG 2-0. Damwon Kia pick up the win that, honestly, we were definitely expecting tonight. It was a little bit bumpy.